Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Harry. Today, I'll introduce to you a romantic thriller film, Time Renegades, talking about parallel spacetime. A teacher in 1983 and a police officer in 2005 traced murderer through connected dreams, parallel spacetime. New Year celebrations were held in 1983 and 2015. Coincidentally, there was also a wallet theft on that day. At the beginning of the movie, the two men began to chase the thief. In an alley, a policeman was shot and a teacher was stabbed when they entered the intensive care unit for rescue. After they recovered, the two began to see each other's daily lives through their dreams. I must be crazy. In 2003, when the police were checking pedestrian surveillance, Gunwoo found the girl who was walking down the street was so similar to the teacher's girlfriend in Gunwoo's dreams. Gunwoo told his colleague about it, but the colleague just thought that he was single for too long, so he might just have an illusion. Gunwoo couldn't restrain his curiosity. That night, Gunwoo quietly followed the girl. The girl noticed him immediately. She thought he was a pervert. Gunwoo was arrested. After that incident, Gunwoo and So-yoon were officially acquainted. Gunwoo told his dream to So-yoon. After So-yoon returned to school, she couldn't help her curiosity. She asked her former faculty about Gunwoo's dreams. She was told that it turned out that she studied in the middle school that appeared in Gunwoo's dream. The name of the school was changed because 43 students died in a fire. So-yoon was surprised. She hurried to the school's office. 32 years ago, there had been a girl that looked exactly like her. So-yoon told Gunwoo about it. Gunwoo was also surprised. He stumbled upon a file while he rummaged through the cabinet. It was the case of Yoon 32 years ago. The camera suddenly turned back to 1983. Ji-hwan suddenly woke up from his dream in a sweat. In the dream, he also saw the file of his girlfriend's murder. He got up at once, going to get the file and the gambler. The gambler thought Ji-hwan urged him to pay his debts. He turned around and ran away. He collided with Yoon on the way to escape. When he saw her bag, bad intentions rose in him. Ji-hwan and Yoon were supposed to get married soon, but So-yoon suddenly encountered this kind of thing. Ji-hwan was very sad. The gambler was caught, but the gambler's son insisted that his father did not kill her. On the other side, in 2003, Gunwoo learned Ji-hwan's regret in the dream. He felt sorry about it. Gunwoo examined the file a few days later. He found out that the gambler died in prison a few years later, but the real murderer still continued his crimes. To prevent this tragedy from happening again, also to find out the truth, Gunwoo and Ji-hwan decided to cooperate to trace the real murderer. According to Gunwoo file time, when the real murderer committed the murder, Ji-hwan hid in the wardrobe. When the real murderer killed Yoon-jung, Ji-hwan rushed out right away. The two wrestled with each other. But in the end, the real murderer still escaped from the scene. At the police station, the police showed him the gas mask that the real murderer wore at that time. They mistook Ji-hwan for the murderer. Things didn't go well with Ji-hwan in 1983. Gunwoo's life was also not peaceful in 2005. Gunwoo was supposed to have dinner with So-yoon. He was going to confess his feelings, but there was an accident that night. Gunwoo waited at home all night, but So-yoon didn't come. The next day, he woke up listlessly from the sofa. He heard that So-yoon's car fell into the river on the radio. She was now missing. Gunwoo was worried. When his investigation failed for several days in a row, he finally got So-yoon's call for help. Gunwoo hurried to the rescue, but he missed So-yoon's call because of the majestic rain. Gunwoo finally noticed that So-yoon was chasing after his car. When he turned back around and almost succeeded in saving So-yoon, a car in the back suddenly rushed out and hit So-yoon. She died on the spot. Gunwoo deeply felt Ji-hwan's feeling at that time. He was more dedicated to tracking down the real murderer. Gunwoo looked at the caller ID in his phone when he called for help. He did an investigation. It turned out to be important evidence. Continuing to investigate deeply, he found a big secret. Wasn't the caller the son of the gambler 32 years ago? Gunwoo hurried to the director's house. It was not easy to find his address. It was all about the case 32 years ago. This also showed that the director was also investigating the real murderer. Gunwoo confronted him on the spot. At this moment, Gunwoo knew that So-yoon was kidnapped by the director, but the real murderer was not him. Finally, the director was ashamed of causing So-yoon's death. Before he shot himself, he shouted at Gunwoo and Ji-hwan in his dream, "Don't go to the school tonight, or else you'll die." In 1983, Ji-hwan suddenly woke up from his dream again. Looking at the sleeping student nearby, an idea flashed in his mind. He didn't listen to the advice. He came to the school that night. Sure enough, he ran into the real murderer. The two fought fiercely again. This time, Ji-hwan successfully knocked down the real murderer. It turned out to be the biology teacher who appeared at the beginning. Just when Ji-hwan was about to be killed by the real murderer, the student appeared to help him. Ji-hwan told the student to save the female classmate on the other side first. After the students left, Ji-hwan struggled with the real murderer. At last, he pushed the murderer out of the window. They all thought this was the end, relieved to leave the school. Just as Ji-hwan stepped out the door, a knife went straight into his body. Standing in front of him was the real murderer. Ji-hwan tried to escape from his slaughter. Fortunately, Ji-hwan had the function of dream prediction. He took advantage of the lightning that night to kill the murderer. When the sun rose, Ji Huan also slowly closed his eyes. At the end of the movie, Gunwoo suddenly woke up from his dream. Looking at himself in the mirror, he realized that he was the reincarnation of Ji Huan. With the unwillingness of the previous life, he came back again to find the truth. Because of their efforts, the history was rewritten. In this film, one end of time and space changed, the other end would also change. The film is very compact in structure. Though there are some regrets in the process of the whole film, the happy ending will make you cry. Alright, that's all for today. I'm Harry. I'll see you next time.